Well, thank you. And first, before I begin, I really would like to thank everyone, especially the program directors, for allowing me to be here, and really for allowing me to be here to build some relationships and to start some of these conversations that I have been able to have so far. And when I think about some of the conversations that I've had today and yesterday, I think about a few individuals that I've already met. I met Bob from Australia, and he shared with me how he had a dairy farm growing up and was trained as an educator and then went on to spend years in research and is here now. I spoke with Julian, who is from Spain and is now studying and working in Denmark, and talked about all of the events and the learning that has taken place there. And overall, all the conversations that I've had come at some point to, what are you studying? Are you working on your doctorate? Are you working on your master's degree? And I think, no, I'm working on an undergraduate degree, which really makes me feel just a little bit behind. But when I think about that, and I wonder, what is it that I have to bring to you as accomplished agriculturalists? What is it that I can bring this young person? And to see, I believe that I'm the youngest individual here, actually. Is anyone under 25? If you raise your hand, anyone under 25? Anyone under 23? 22? 21? I think I've got us. There's a few in the front that may be teasing some, but we'll just let that slide. I believe I'm one of the youngest. So what do I have to bring? And I believe that what I have to bring is perspective. It's the one thing that I can offer, and I know that I don't have answers, but as serving as a young person in agriculture, being a student, being an employee in this industry, I do have a unique perspective on what young people want from this industry and how they can be engaged. I hope that I can passionately share with you how we can engage the young people in agriculture and how we can help secure the future of this food industry. When we look at this from my perspective, when I was in Gainesville, Florida, I was studying at the University of Florida, and I asked a few of my friends that are in my program, what do you see as issues in agriculture right now? What are the first things that come to your mind? And as plant pathologists and breeders, some of yours may be more directed, but these are the issues that students in agriculture came up with. Numerous challenges: government regulations, climate, disease, fluctuations in the global economy, water scarcity, population growth. All of these are things that we see frequently. My friends saw these issues as well. But there's one issue that continuously came up that we identified as young people, and that was the engagement of new and diverse agriculturalists. Diverse in background, diverse in age, diverse in gender. And we see that because when we think about the average age of a farmer, this is from the United States Department of Agriculture, this number, is 58 years old. It's nearing retirement. And it's not just in the United States. I was speaking with an individual from Nigeria earlier today. He said that was very similar and very common in his country too. I would imagine it would be the same in many of your home nations as well. The average age of the farmer is growing, and when we see the diversity of issues that agriculture is presented with, we need a diversity of perspectives to come up with these solutions, which again brings us to the point of we need to engage new and diverse agriculturalists. Now, I look around this room, and we're surrounded with incredibly intelligent people, but there's an overwhelming demographic of middle-aged men. If you are one, thank you for being here, but it's the truth. It's the truth, and we have some others, but we need to find this new and diverse generation of agriculturalists. And with awards like the Women in Triticum Award and other ways to support these young researchers and these young people in agriculture, we're working towards that. But that's an issue that we have identified. Engaging the potential of youth and women, of which I am both, is critical to the success of the food industry. And there are three specific challenges that I truly see to this. Granted, this is my perspective. I said I would share. And these challenges all circle around awareness. All around awareness of opportunities in agriculture, opportunities in careers, of false stereotypes in agriculture. Maybe some other individuals don't have the correct perspective or the perspective that we would most like to present. And then of simply the need for change and improvement within the agriculture industry for success. So when we look at these individually, think about the awareness of opportunities in agriculture. And as respected agriculturalists in your fields, you probably haven't dealt with this, but as a young person in agriculture, I find myself sitting at a table with people from diverse backgrounds, sitting at a table with people involved in multiple industries. And when I say that I would like to be involved in the agriculture industry for the rest of my life, they often imagine someone in overalls in the middle of a cornfield with a cow in the background and a pitchfork. And that's what they see. And I think maybe there's some of those people somewhere, but that's not it. And they don't see someone with a bright future that has the ability to be engaged in science, in engineering, in communication, in education. They don't see the over 300 careers that are available in the agriculture industry. There's not that awareness. And I want to share with you a quick story about one of the young ladies on the screen here. Her name is Alicia Hodnick. She is from the state of Wisconsin. And when she was in high school, she wanted to serve her country in the United States Navy. She was very excited about that, had a lot of military background in her family, until she went to a presentation at her high school. And it was an odd presentation, just something that was very run-of-the-mill, and they began to talk about the potential in agriculture, the potential careers available. Someone had taken the time to show her this. So she decided to take an agriculture class, and she seemingly fell in love with it. That led to an internship at Dow AgriSciences in Indianapolis, Indiana. And once she had completed that brief internship, she knew this was where she needed to be, working in plant science. Now she's studying at the University of Idaho, working in plant virology, which she loves, and is hoping to make a difference through the agriculture industry. And see, this is one person that became aware of the opportunities in agriculture. But as Dr. Borlaug said yesterday during one of the presentations, I heard him quoted, "More is needed, of course. More awareness is needed, of course, for us to be successful in this industry." And when we look at the next point, awareness of some of these stereotypes, it really comes hand in hand because, again, when I've said, hey, I want to be involved in agriculture, in this industry, it's oftentimes met with, can't you do something better with your time? Don't you think that you could do something a little bit more? You can do better than that. As if fighting hunger and fighting poverty wasn't enough, right? You know, I see this answer is created by some of these stereotypes, and it's not just something that's in the United States where I call home. But we were able to see this as I was traveling in Japan last February, and we met with hundreds of selected high school students, secondary students that were studying agriculture. They were studying food science and horticulture and landscape design and preservation and all these things that they found incredibly interesting. And it seemed so incredible. You see some of the students there in front of their greenhouses and presenting some of their melon-based research. They loved it until we saw their parents. And it seemed that their parents and their families believed that the students were settling by being involved in the agriculture industry. They used the terms they were too dumb or too lazy to be involved in medicine or in engineering or in law, something that was maybe a little bit more glamorous. You know, agriculture is not the most glamorous job out there, but it's necessary. And we saw really the effects of this stereotype whenever we went to the U.S. Embassy in Japan. And we were sitting and talking. These are some of my officer teammates there. And one of the facts that we learned that was shocking, completely shocking to me, is that there were over 1 million acres in farmland that had been abandoned in Japan. When you think of Japan, it's not a large land mass at all. And so 1 million acres, that's a pretty good chunk. Those acres were abandoned because the farmers there, either their children no longer wanted to be involved in the industry, or they simply left for something they deemed is better. Agriculture may not be glamorous, but it is necessary, and these negative stereotypes need to be corrected. And it's not just in Japan. I want to share with you another location. Dr. Simmons had mentioned that I had traveled to Liberia earlier. And so I was there in November and December, and this is one of the similar things that we found. Whenever the team and I went into a school to begin teaching about agriculture and about farming, we would use those terms, agriculture and farming, and we found that there was little interest in what we were doing. When we started talking about the term food industry, everyone seemed to be excited. A simple switch of the terminology really indicated the stereotype that went along with agriculture and farming, not just in the U.S., where I'm from, not just in Japan, but in nations all around the world. And it was really incredible to learn about the need for awareness of these stereotypes there. And to engage youth, we must create the awareness of the positive opportunities in agriculture. Which leads me to the third point that I really see as a challenge for engaging youth and engaging the potential of those youth. It's awareness of a need for change. Change is important, and as an officer for FFA, I traveled quite a bit to different conventions and presented workshops with middle schoolers, with high schoolers, and even with college students. And we were able to select, the team and I were able to select the topic of our presentation and of our workshop. And they were different leadership things, but I selected mine based on hunger because of my passion for that. And I hoped that it would create some awareness initially. And we did that through some activities. One of the activities was all of the students would be in a group of 7. And I would ask for one individual to stand in each of those groups. It would be facilitated to the point that that individual standing, statistically speaking, in the United States, where these workshops were, statistically speaking, that individual would be hungry. And when you looked around a room of 300-400 students, there were a lot of individuals that were left standing. And the awareness that it created in those students' minds was incredible, because when you see the next step, not of just awareness, but of becoming aware for the need of change and becoming a change agent as an individual, that's what was incredible. See, after having that awareness, those students were facilitated through sharing ideas and how they could become a catalyst for a movement to actually fight hunger. And these weren't just fluffy ideas that they were coming up with in some of these workshop settings, but there were thousands of students that committed to careers in agriculture, that committed to community service and to helping those in their community, that committed to fundraising in their community, that committed to advocacy for this industry and how it could help. There's a need for awareness, and that was met in that scenario. But where I really saw that hit home was after a workshop that I presented in New Jersey. And I was there with a student, and we had just gone through that activity. She came up to me afterwards as I was cleaning up all of my supplies and putting up my laptop and all of these things. And she said, "Ma'am, I was one of the hungry ones." And I thought she was talking about the activity. And I thought she was referencing that. So I said, "Oh, really? What did that feel like? What was that?" She said, "No, not in the workshop, in real life." And this is the first time that I learned I could change it. Awareness of the need for change is key to engaging young people. And that young lady, I have no doubt, is now working towards making that change. You see, these factors of awareness focus on what youth need. These are the challenges. These are the needs of these people. So let's look at what this generation actually has, what this unique generation has. And I talked to a couple of students at the University of Florida that were getting ready to graduate from the College of Agriculture and asked them, what do they want from a career? What are they looking for to get out of this career? And this is a quote: "Career is important because I want to feel like I'm contributing to something and doing something with my time that is worthwhile." Okay? And here's another quote. "It's simple. Work should allow us to generate an income, do what we love, and make a positive impact on the world." These are 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds that their perspective already wanting something more than just an income and the ability to support a family. They were wanting to make a difference. And just as Norman Borlaug sought more than an income with his work, he sought to make a difference and to have a purpose, and he did. So does our generation. And career groups and magazines like Forbes and The Economist, they've showed that our generation is the generation to make a difference. And this all sounds great. But young people with this desire can also be incredibly dangerous without a direction. And so I was having this exact conversation with one of the executives with Elanco Animal Health last year. And this is what he had to say on this topic. And it stuck with me so much that I really wanted to share it with you as well. And that the biggest injustice of leadership is people leading and not knowing why. And he thought this a lot of times in our youth. We have gung-ho, excited people that want to lead, they want to make a difference, but they don't have much of a purpose. And he said that he was once one of those individuals, one of those kids without a lot of a purpose, but a whole lot of passion. And it was while he was working in Brazil as a VP of operations for Elanco. And he was living in a place that had a gatekeeper around his home, and his name was Paulo. And Paulo and he would practice his Portuguese every evening whenever he would come in from work. And so they had a good relationship that was being built there. He really enjoyed the conversations they would have. And one evening, he came in a little bit later from an event, and normally Paulo's lights in the house would be off by this point. But they weren't. So he thought, maybe something is wrong, I'll go check. He walked down there to the home of the gatekeeper and went in and knocked on the door, and he could hear crying. And it seemed like little girls. And so when Paulo came to the door and opened it, he saw two little girls hugging onto Paulo's legs and crying. And Mr. Simmons thought, what is wrong? What's going on? He says, there's been a problem at my work and I haven't been paid. My children haven't eaten in 3 days. Imagine that. We've already eaten twice today if you had breakfast. Those little girls hadn't eaten in 3 days. And in that moment, at that very instance, Mr. Simmons became aware of the nobility, the opportunity, the potential, and the need for change in agriculture. And at that moment, he found the purpose. He now works to feed people. He doesn't work for an income. And it would be ideal if every young person could have this very same experience and could have a moment like this to become aware of their passion and have a ripple effect throughout. And because we've looked at what students have, this passion, we must tap into this passion, into this potential, and help students find their purpose in agriculture. And let's look at what some youth have already done to engage their potential and how they're able to innovatively approach these challenges that we have in agriculture. Because though the mind of young people is often creative and out there sometimes, there's no trade for experience and resources like we have in this room. And so many of these approaches involve unique partnerships, and that's what I will focus on, is the partnerships that youth are building in agriculture with different entities and how that is innovatively solving some of these challenges that we have. And so first I'd like to look at partnerships within agricultural education. And agricultural education has a unique model that is not just used in the United States, but is effectively used in many nations across the globe. And it really is incredible to see that youth are being taught about agriculture and inspired about agriculture in such a unique way. And this unique way involves 3 different methods that are ongoing at the same time. One of them being the classroom and laboratory, like you would think of traditional education at any location. And then also we have a supervised agricultural experience, which is a personal experience that student is able to become a part of. And through a mentorship type relation, develop that to be more successful and learn what the industry in agriculture truly needs from them as youth. And it also involves engagement in youth agriculture leadership organizations like the FFA. And that unique combination creates an experiential learning program for that student that they are taught from. But what's most incredible is that even though this is taught at places like this is at the Chicago High School for Agriculture Sciences, one of the largest cities in the United States uses this method. And it's also in some of the most rural communities, 10 students in a high school communities as well, and it's equally successful. And so these students are learning, but they aren't just learning for their own benefit, they're learning to be able to teach and push this information forward, which is what I would like to show you next, with some different opportunities that youth are driving to partner within agricultural education. One of these I've had a few conversations with individuals here about already is AgriCorps. And it is a partnership with students, recently graduated students in a nonprofit organization that allows college-age students traveling from the United States to African nations to be able to present new ways to teach agricultural education and help pay that education forward and hopefully make a difference. Another opportunity is through Hunger University, which partners college students with a nonprofit organization that goes throughout the United States to different college campuses, sharing, as you can see, the perspective of what hunger is like in the United States and in the world, and then presenting students with the opportunity to make a difference within the agriculture industry. And one of their slogans, as you can see, let's fix the facts so we can feed the world. We want to change and make everyone more aware so that we can, in a sense, feed the world. Incredible things that these students are doing. Another is Agriculture in the Classroom, which is in partnership with the United States Department of Agriculture, where young teachers and also high school students and college students are able to obtain curriculum and go out into elementary schools, ages first grade through sixth grade, and present about agriculture and advocate for agriculture to these students to change that level of awareness and level of literacy about our industry with these students from the get-go. And you can see this is not just one portion of the agriculture industry that is being shared about. It's dairy industry, it's the soybean growers, it's the cotton producers, the pork producers, the beef producers. Every facet of agriculture that you can imagine is being covered. And over 3 million students last year, ages first grade through sixth grade, were able to take part in some of this curriculum. These are students learning from agricultural education and paying it forward to different audiences, and it's really incredible what's being done there to engage. And at the most, if I can go forward, at the most basic level, industry and students can develop partnerships with one another as well. And I'd like to share with you a story of one young man. His name is Jacob Schindler. He's from the state of Georgia, and he's 16 years old. And he was working on an agri-science fair project, a typical science fair project, working with kudzu grass, if you're familiar with that, and it has taken over the South, in a sense, or at least the southern part of America. And he found a way to inject nitrogen and actually kill the kudzu. This is something that hadn't happened before. He presented this in his agri-science fair project. He won at the local level, won at the state level, won at the national level, and is now, through an industry partnership with Monsanto, working to do further research with this. And by this point, he hasn't even graduated from college. But those partnerships are coming on early so that he can be successful and so that students like him can be successful with their passions in agriculture as well. Partnerships not only with students but also with young teachers have been happening between industry corporations and organizations as well. Really to tap into the resource of young and passionate educators so that they can in turn share with as many students as they possibly can. This is a picture of myself with one of the educators at Lincoln Electric in the ag mechanics and fabrication sector of the agriculture industry. But this is not limited just to Lincoln Electric sharing these curriculums, but also all throughout the plant science, animal science portions of the industry as well. It's really incredible the number of students that we can reach and that we can speak with through mechanisms like such. And then even when we think of an individual level with industry, through internships, through scholarships, there are opportunities available for students. These are a few friends of mine that actually had an internship at Syngenta, and they're taking some soil samples and marking those. But because of this, They've seen opportunity within the industry for them to be successful. They've actively sought that out. The industry has sought them out. And between that meeting, they now are employed for them and are seeing the room to grow and the room to make a difference within the agriculture industry. And to me, that's just phenomenal. I enjoy that so much. So we've seen how partnerships in agricultural education can be made, how partnerships within the agriculture industry can be made, and also partnerships with individuals in the agriculture industry. Because that really is what it comes down to, is the people that we have here. And I want to share with you about a close friend of mine from Kentucky as well. Her name is Chelsea Schlossnagel. And she was a national agribusiness star for FFA, which is a very prestigious award because she had one of the most well-developed and best growing businesses in the U.S. in her grouping. And she worked with a local producer to develop her poultry production her poultry production business, and she produces eggs. She also produces value-added products, and she has poultry animals as well that she sells for harvest. And because of that mentorship relationship that she had with a local producer who took the time out of his day to educate, to share, to offer advice, to offer perspective, Chelsea was able to grow her business. And she is currently obtaining a degree in agricultural economics so that she can further develop this business on her own in the future after she graduates. And she's not the only one. When we look at students in FFA, the Youth Leadership Organization in the United States, these students, ages 14 to about 20, make an economic contribution of $4 billion annually because of students like Chelsea that are passionate, that seek out relationships, that have individuals like yourself that are willing to mentor and help these people make a difference in this industry. Another type of individual that would be able to truly make a difference is those of us that are serving at a university. And I wanted to share with you about one professor that's very near and dear to my heart. He's a professor at Western Kentucky University in agricultural education. And this man is Dr. David Coffey. And he taught agricultural education for over 30 years. And every year would take students on international excursions to Ecuador. He would mentor individual students that were becoming teachers in the field of agricultural education, and would really serve as a friend to them. And Dr. Coffey passed away last week, but it was incredible to hear the stories that really were testimonies to his life. They were testimonies to what building a relationship with another young person can do for their passion and their purpose within agriculture. There's so many current teachers, so many people in the industry that because of one man, one individual who is willing to invest his time to another person, they'll remember that for their entire life. They had a jump start in their industry or in their profession because of one person. We can be that person. I think it's absolutely incredible because young people care and young people want purpose. And I've illustrated challenges for how to engage them, different levels of awareness that are absolutely necessary to reach those individuals to become into the agricultural industry and be successful. But I've also shown that how through partnerships in agricultural education with nonprofit groups, with government agencies, how relationships and partnerships within the industry, through mentorships, through internships, through scholarships, and also how simple partnerships with individuals that are passionate about agriculture can truly make a difference and have these challenges become overcome. I say again, students are passionate. And I would like to share with you an excerpt of the FFA Creed that is something that over 600,000 agricultural students know by heart and truly believe in. And I believe that as agriculturalists, whether you're a part of this organization or not, you could believe in this, and it speaks to how passionate these students are. I believe in the future of agriculture with a faith born not of words but of deeds, Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturalists in the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us through the struggles of former years. Youth believe, and they know that there are issues in agriculture that we must be engaged in if we want to continue, because my generation and the generation after me will be the generation to feed the 9 billion in 2050, and we know that. So what can you do to make a difference? We can support, we can encourage, we can provide resources, we can mentor. If you're involved in agriculture in any way, shape, or form, which I assume that you are because you're here, you can do these 4 things. And some of you already are, and it's fantastic. That's why we have young people engaging in this industry. So help them in these ways because they do care. Show them a purpose and they will make a difference. Engage their potential, and there will be a future in the food industry. Thank you.